Hey guys, what's up? This is Dingocrikey here with another commentary video, this time with news on the Transformers Generations toy line. If you are interested in more news and commentary on Transformers 5, the Age of Extinction toy line, or the upcoming Robots in Disguise cartoon, then you could check out my playlist and channel where you can also find over 20 of my Transformers stop motion videos, some of which are previewed here. But for this video, I'm going to be discussing the recently released images of the long-awaited Transformers Generations Combiner Wars Titan-class Devastator. So it looks like in Nuremberg, which I believe is in Germany, there was recently some kind of a toy fair, and Transformers World 2005 had reported this story along with the image that there had been a reveal of Titan-class Devastator. Even before the Generation Combiner Wars line had been announced, there has always been huge demand within the Transformers community for a good G1 accurate Devastator formed from 6 robots who will combine to make the robot. And with the Combiner Wars line now underway, obviously Devastator has been one of the most highly anticipated characters. Now there have been many different renditions of Devastator throughout various toy lines in the past. There was obviously the Generation 1 version of Devastator. Then in the Transformers Universe line, the original Universe line, we had the Robots in Disguise build team who formed Landfill, repainted as the Constructicons to form Devastator. We had repaints of Energon combiners in the Transformers Classics line back in 2006, which were dubbed Devastator. And then obviously a big one would be the Revenge of the Fallen Devastator figure. Though we've had these and more Devastator figures released in the past, and some of these are decent figures, with the exception of the Generation 1, I'm sure some would argue that was adequate, but none of these other ones were really adequate for Devastator's original character or his original design. I mean, G1 was probably adequate at its time, but now that the toys have progressed, we expect something that captures his original design better with more detail and ultimately more posability and playability. Now, we've had these other Devastator figures in the past, but a lot of them have just been repaints, as mentioned with the Landfill repaint, so it obviously isn't going to look like Devastator. I mean, you could put the colors on it, you could make them all construction vehicles, but it really isn't going to be Devastator. And then in Revenge of the Fallen, we had individual Constructicon figures, which were good for movie representations of those characters in my opinion, but we didn't have them actually combined to form Devastator. We just got a bunch of untransformable vehicles which basically formed into this big robot. And I never owned that toy, but to me it didn't look like it would be worth the money. So without further ado, let's look at the recently revealed Transformers Generations Combiner War Devastator and see how it meets our expectations. Now, when I first seen this image, I've got to say my thoughts were that it looked pretty impressive. Initially, I didn't come up with much criticism about it, and even now I don't think it looks that bad. I do think there are a few significant flaws you could probably point out, such as the small head is one that a lot of people have been mentioning. But in regards to Generation 1 accuracy, while this isn't spot on, it's the closest thing we have ever seen, at least that I've seen, that looks like a legitimate Devastator. I mean, outside of the size, the head sculpt looks pretty cool, the body, the chest plate, the legs, it all looks pretty good at first glance. Unlike some previous versions we've seen, the color scheme also looks good. A lot of times he'll be like a darker green, or he'll be missing a lot of the purple. It'll be more of a bluish purple, but the colors look pretty good to me. I'm sure some people are going to find problems with it. That always seems to happen, and some of them probably are legitimate because they aren't going to get the colors 100% right. I mean, you could probably look at them in the Dreamwave books or the IDW comics if he's appeared in those, the Generation 1 cartoon, the Marvel comics, and, you know, point to all different flaws. It kind of depends on what you're looking for. I have 2 books that cover all of the Generation 1 characters in Dreamwave styled artwork and also give bios on them, their weapons, special abilities, all this kind of stuff. And I remember the Devastator image shown there, he has yellow eyes and they're both separated, not really like a visor. In this one, it doesn't look for sure like they're a visor, but it does look like they may be a visor, but they're definitely red, and they definitely look closer to G1. And I think that looks way better than what we might have got otherwise. I mean, the red eyes really stand out. I like how they're bigger. You know, might help with the small head too. So all around, you know, in those areas, as far as colors go and accuracy, he seems to look pretty good. I know there's some people who are probably Devastator specialists. I would like to hear your comments, though, on what you might think in that area. I like the detailing as well. The chest piece looks really, really nice. There's a lot of detailing going on there. Maybe they could have added more paint apps, but I'm not of the mindset that every single detail needs to be colored something different. I kind of used to think like that when I was a kid, but you know, then he would be like a rainbow or just be too much to handle, in my opinion. It does look like his legs could probably use some more colors, but his pelvis area looks nicely colored along with his chest, and it looks like he has a pretty good amount of articulation. I mean, it looks like his knees will be able to bend, which is a cool thing, but also his feet look like they're going to have some posability. You could see, I believe it's Scrapper, it looks like he's kind of turned at an angle, so maybe feet posability, that would be really cool. He definitely has arm posability going on there. It looks like there's something a little bit weird in his right arm. It looks like there's like a black rectangular piece or something like that with little screws in there to kind of hold the green part together with the purple piece. So I'm not too crazy about that, but it does look like he should have some pretty good articulation. With that said, about the articulation and kind of the lack of colors that I mentioned earlier in some of the appendages, I'm kind of worried about whether or not this is actually going to be a legitimate combiner formed of transforming robots, or is it going to be something like Metroplex that's really big and really cool looking, that really isn't formed at all, it's just a giant figure? Or is it going to be something like the Revenge of the Fallen Devastator or the Power Core Combiners? One of the other reasons that I'm skeptical about that is because this figure was called a Titan class figure. Now initially that just worried me because we have those crappy things in stores that are called Titan class figures, you know, those really humanoid looking ones that don't transform and they just look really flat. And this Devastator obviously isn't one of those. So it seems like we're looking at something more around Metroplex's line, which is really cool, but it kind of makes me think, is he just a Titan class figure, or is he actually composed of other Transformers? Because if we're going to have something that big that's composed of individual figures that transform, I'd imagine it would be pretty hard to stabilize. I think Hasbro could do it with good designing, but it would be hard to come up with a figure that worked when it was combined. So that really worries me. Also, it doesn't really look like all of these guys will be able to transform, especially looking at the legs like Mixmaster. I don't know, he looks kind of solid and stiff to me. Maybe it's just the perspective, the way the picture's shot, the lighting, something like that. Maybe this is still a prototype. I'm not sure, but he kind of looks like that to me. He looks really solid. Now it does look like the one up in the arm, the right arm, I hope I'm getting them right. I always get Scrapper and Scavenger confused because of their names in Armada and Animated, but for these purposes I'll just call him Scrapper. It does look like there's a little bowl joint in there, so hopefully that's something for his transformation, and that's a sign that he is an actual robot. Maybe for some people this isn't a worry at all. Maybe they know of some statement by people at Hasbro that confirms that these all will be robots who combine to form Devastator. I really hope that is the case. Now, one thing that makes it seem like it would be the case is the price of Titan figures. I believe Metroplex was like $120, $124, something like that. If he was composed of, let's say, 6 Voyager class figures, because Devastator is traditionally 6 figures, the price would kind of match up to the price of 6 Voyager class figures, give or take a few dollars. The Voyagers are obviously gotten more expensive throughout the years, but usually when they're released in packs like this, the price for each individual seems to be a little bit cheaper than it may be otherwise. So I'm really hoping that's the case, that we are getting a legitimate Devastator that, at least in my opinion, looks pretty cool. Probably not the best we could ever get, but probably the best we'll ever get, at least for a long while, and that all the components of him do transform to form their own robots. Hopefully Voyager class figures, and hopefully they would be really, really awesome figures. So Devastator in it of himself looks really, really cool to me. I like the looks of him. I know some people have their issues with him, like they don't like the small head. They think his body looks a little bit blocky. They think he should have more of a waist, things like that. I think he looks pretty good in all those areas, though I could see some things with the blocky body. Overall, I am excited for the Devastator robot, but if he isn't composed of transforming Transformers, that would be pretty disappointing, and I don't know if I would buy it in that case. I guess we'll have to see. If they all do transform into robots, even if they're just mediocre robots, if they don't get them like 100% accurate, I think it would be really, really cool. I'm definitely hoping that's the case. And if it is true, we could be looking at one of the most exciting Transformer releases in a long time. I mean, to me, the Generation Combiner Wars is really, really cool. I like the figures from the line so far. I like the ones I own. I like the ones I've seen. And this would obviously be pretty exciting. Devastator has been long overdue for a good G1 accurate figure, and it would be really, really cool if this finally does him justice. But I won't let this video go on too much longer. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. What do you think of this Generations Combiner Wars Devastator? Do you agree with some of my speculation that he might not be formed of individual transforming robots? What would you think of that? Would you still want to get the figure if he was just one giant robot or composed of something like power core combiners? Or are you excited to see Devastator finally get an accurate figure? Or maybe you were hoping for some other character to receive a Titan class figure, such as Fortress Maximus, or maybe you were hoping they would make a new Unicron. Or looking at combiners, maybe a more obscure character such as Computron or Abominus. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, along with any topic suggestions you might have pertaining to Transformers 5, the Age of Extinction toy line, or any other Generations news, especially stuff that pertains to Devastator or some other things that might be being revealed at this toy fair. I know my Generations videos usually don't get near as many views as my Transformers 5 videos do, but I still enjoy doing them. I know there are a lot of people like me who really, really like the Generations toy line, so if you have good suggestions for them, I'll definitely be interested in doing them. And that pretty much wraps it up for this one. If you haven't already done so, or you're new to the channel, then you could check out my previous Transformers commentary videos along with my Transformers stop motion videos. That's it for this one. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more Transformers news and commentary, and have a good one, guys.